Welcome to our humble channel. Here's something for you to enjoy. We hope you like the video. Enjoy watching! Halloween night, 2002. A lonely street illuminated only by moonlight filtering through the clouds. 4 young girls in simple Halloween costumes walk quickly. The wind howls, and dry leaves rustle under their feet. Introduction. On a moonlit Halloween night, where shadows lurk like waiting beasts, 4 little girls were returning home from a costume party. The street was empty, and fog gathered like a white specter. They pass by an old church. Its stones are eroded, its stained glass windows broken. A statue of a saint in the courtyard looks as if it's contorting in pain. And then, suddenly, a man appeared. He stood motionless before the church's rusty iron gate, wearing a clown costume. But this was not the costume of a joyful clown. His face was an unnatural pale white, his smile drawn wide and unsettling. His eyes gleamed in the darkness like those of 2 hungry cats. "Excuse me, my pretty little ones. Have you seen my little puppy? He's lost." The girls tremble and exchange anxious looks. One of the girls, in a trembling voice, "No, we haven't seen any dog." "That's sad. He must be lonely and scared. Wouldn't you like to help me look for him? The puppy loves to play in here, in the church." Despite the warnings in their hearts, the girls agreed. There was something in his eyes that was demonically compelling. They enter through the church's heavy wooden door. The door emits a long, scary creak. The trap. As soon as the last girl entered, they heard a loud click. The clown closed the door and turned the key. Utter darkness fell, broken only by the pale rays of moonlight sneaking through the high windows. They realized they had fallen into a trap. They tried to run, but the clown was faster than his own shadow. He moved like a snake, suddenly appearing before them out of the gloom. Quick, choppy scenes. The clown tying the girls with sturdy ropes. The sound of their sharp screams echoing through the empty church, hitting the cold marble walls and climbing to the ornate ceiling. The clown's shadow dancing grotesquely on the walls as he commits unspeakable acts. The tragic end. The poor girls thought after he finished his game that he would release them, but they were wrong. With a shiny, curved knife, he ended their lives one after the other. Then he vanished into the night like a nightmare. Scene of the street. The clown walks calmly. People pass by laughing, thinking the red on his costume is just part of the outfit. If only they knew the red was blood, not paint. The next morning, the priest entered the church, surprised to find the door unlocked. In the darkness, he heard a mysterious sound. Drip, drip, drip. The sound was coming from above. With every step, a heavy, metallic smell filled the air. The priest turns on the lights. The camera shows his eyes widening in horror. Sharp, escalating music. He saw 4 bodies hanging upside down from the wooden rafters, headless. Blood was dripping from their severed necks, forming a sticky, warm pool on the altar. The most horrific part? The bodies were buried in the small cemetery behind the church. A few weeks later, 4 mysterious packages arrived at the girls' homes. Scene of the parents opening the boxes, close-up on their eyes bursting with terror, silent screams. Inside each box was their daughter's severed head, preserved and grotesquely prepared. The epilogue. It is said that if you visit that old church on Halloween night, you will see the ghosts of the 4 girls standing on the altar searching for their heads. And it's said their screams still echo in the darkness. And the murderous clown was never found, ever. Closing shot. The clown's face suddenly appears in front of the camera, smiling that wide, horrifying smile. Warning. So if a man ever approaches you one night and asks you, "Have you seen my lost puppy?" remember this story and run.
In a forgotten village near the edge of the Black Forest, there was an abandoned house that filled hearts with fear. Years passed, and people avoided even saying its name. On the top floor of that house, there was an old red door. It was wrapped in rusty chains and had a warning carved into it. "Do not open, or the curse will awaken." They called it the Forbidden Red Room, a name whispered in the darkest horror stories. James was a young writer who loved horror and the supernatural. He found a clue on the dark web that led him to the house. He ignored all the warnings. He believed the greatest story is written when you face death. So he followed the unknown toward the closed door. On a foggy morning, James arrived in the village. He asked about the house, but no one answered. Only one old woman spoke with a trembling voice. "If you enter that place, you will not come out the same." But James had already made up his mind. After noon, James stood in front of the iron gate. He pushed it slowly, and it made a loud groaning sound. Inside, the house was full of dust. The windows were broken, the walls were cracked, and the furniture was falling apart. He climbed to the upper floor. Each step was swallowed by silence. Then he saw it, the red door. It was huge, cracked like frozen veins, and pulsing with dark energy. A rusted metal sign read, "The Forbidden Red Room." The door seemed to hold something behind it, something that was waiting. James searched the house. He found a small key under the stairs. He put it in the lock. There was a sound like bones snapping. The door opened. A cold wind rushed out with the smell of sulfur. He stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind him. In the center of the room was a black table. On it was a large book covered in human skin. Its pages were yellow and filled with strange symbols, Latin, Hebrew, and other unknown shapes. James opened the book. The words began to read themselves. Then everything changed. The lights went out. Silence filled the room. Whispers came from the darkness. Footsteps behind him, but no one was there. Shadows moved in the mirror. The room began to breathe and shake. Time felt broken. A ghostly figure appeared. Its eyes were black and empty. Its mouth was bleeding black blood. It pointed at James and said, "You have awakened the curse." James tried to run, but the door was gone. There were no windows, no way out. The book started eating its own pages. New words appeared on the walls. "You will not leave unless the curse is sealed." Heads came out of the walls, crying and screaming. Rotting bodies crawled toward the table. James began to chant. Each word hurt his body. On the last page he wrote, "The curse does not die, it moves on." There was a silent explosion. Red light filled the room. Then everything went dark. James woke up outside the house, but he was not the same. His reflection looked strange. His eyes were dark. His voice was twisted. He walked back to the village, but no one could see him. He had returned, but it was not really him. Months later, someone found his camera. There were photos of the room. In each photo, James's face got closer. The last photo showed a terrifying smile. Since that night, the house disappeared. The land turned to ash. They say whoever reads the story of the Forbidden Red Room to the end will start to hear whispers at night and see a shadow watching from the corners of their room. James left the house, but something stayed behind. The curse did not vanish. It changed shape. It now lives in the story itself. The Red Room is not a place. It is an idea. A merciless curse waiting to be opened again. Did you hear that sound? That whisper behind you? Maybe you were never alone from the beginning. Did you feel something? If you felt a chill or saw a strange shadow, you are not alone.
He remembers the past with a tone of sadness and fear. I always thought that demonic possession was just a myth, until that day I saw my friend, Sarah, transform into a creature I didn't recognize. Her body moved with inhuman mechanics, and the voice of an old man rasped from her throat. But the worst part wasn't what happened that day. It was what I discovered 20 years later. Subscribe for more terrifying shorts. I was 8 when I heard Sarah scream. It wasn't a normal scream. It was a raw, tearing sound that ripped through the walls of their suburban home. My friend Mark and I dropped our toys and ran, following the adults who were already thundering up the stairs. We crowded into her doorway. 16-year-old Sarah was on her bed, writhing. A clergyman from their church held a Bible, his voice a low, urgent chant. The air was cold and thick. He demanded the entity to show itself. And it did. Sarah's body went still. Then her head lolled to the side, and a voice that was gravel and decay rasped from her mouth. "You have no power here, old man." She stood up, not like a person. It was a single, fluid, upward motion. She walked to the center of the room, her movements all wrong. Then she lifted one foot and balanced perfectly on the other. My child's mind couldn't process it. She bent backward, her spine arching until the back of her head touched the floor, forming a perfect, impossible arch with her body. She was a bridge of bone, balanced on one foot. The clergyman's prayers turned to desperate whispers. Her family wept. They tried to move her, but she was rooted, a statue of living flesh. Then, as suddenly as it began, she collapsed. When she woke up, she was just Sarah again. She rubbed her eyes, confused by our terrified faces. We asked her what happened, why she did those things. She remembered nothing. She just said she had a terrible dream about falling. But last week, at my own daughter's 16th birthday party, she stumbled. As I rushed to catch her, she righted herself with an unnatural, fluid grace. She looked at me, and for a split second, her voice was low and old. "Don't worry, Dad. I never fall."